Welcome to Slapshot Podcast, episode number 89. I'm your host, Christopher Morais. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. It's here, folks. The offseason has officially started. There's no more hockey. I know it's a sad time for most of you. It's a sad time for me, but listen, this was a great year, 2024-2025 season. I mean, listen, I know the Montreal Canadiens didn't win, and that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, we did have a Stanley Cup final. It was good. Congratulations, of course, to the Florida Panthers. They are now back-to-back champions. They have now been in Stanley Cup finals 3 years. Listen, it's if you want to know what a winning team looks like, you build whatever the Florida Panthers have going here. So, yes, I know. Listen, this was a tough one for McDavid, the Oilers, and the rest of the gang, because the first one you're like, okay, like losing, like it stings. The second one is like, we did everything we could to get back and we still couldn't get past them, right? Like that's tough, man. That's tough. So the Panthers, right, they've got out, they've signed Sam Bennett, 8-year, $8 million deal. There's still some players that need to be re-signed there. We'll see what Zito does, but this is a team that is stacked from top to bottom. They don't have a weakness. The same thing can't be said about the Edmonton Oilers. And I know some of you keep wanting to blame Stuart Skinner. You can. He wasn't great, but he wasn't the problem, right? Like, let's listen, Oilers fans. He is not the problem, okay? Defensively, that team is a problem, right? Mattias Ekholm didn't look healthy. Evan Bouchard, we know the experiment defensively sometimes is neither here nor there. They lacked a little bit of depth. You saw the Florida Panthers, the reason they were so successful, that third line, Luostarinen, Lundell, and Marchand, caused havoc. And Edmonton had no answer. They didn't have the depth. McDavid and Draisaitl did what they needed to do, right? And I know some people are going to criticize McDavid because he didn't score goals in the biggest moment ever, but like the Panthers are so deep, and it can't just be on one guy to win the Stanley Cup for you. You have to dig deep. You need guys all up and down the lineup to do their job. They didn't do it. So we'll see what the Oilers do, how they get better. I mean, this feels like their arch nemesis at this point. Can the Panthers win a third Stanley Cup in a row? If they win 3 Stanley Cups in a row, go to the finals 4 straight years, now we can start talking about dynasty. Now we can start talking. It's too early, okay? I know we want to jump the gun here. It'll never be like dynasty from back before I was born. But there needs to be at least 5 years of complete dominance. And we're not there yet, right? Panthers, it's coming if you keep going this way. But we're not there yet. Yes, I will also point this out. If you are watching this, I did get a haircut. I know. It's kind of hard to not notice, right? Shout out to Jason for taking care of all my hair needs. If you do not know where to watch the video portion of this podcast, you can head over to youtube.com/@slapshotpod. Make sure you go to the X page as well. So x.com/slapshotpodcast, and then hit the link tree. You can follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on Amazon Music. You can follow it on Spotify. You can get it wherever you enjoy your podcasts. So make sure you go ahead and do so. We got a jam-packed show today. Okay, lots of stuff to talk about. Okay, I know there's lots. Listen, the NHL draft just finished up as well. Montreal Canadiens did some cool stuff as well. So we're gonna go through some of that. Before that, we're gonna hit into some quick notes here. I know some of this may be old dated. I know it's been a minute since I've been here, but listen, we're here now, right? Vibing and thriving. Congratulations are in order to the most recent Hockey Hall of Fame class. This is Zdeno Chara. This is Joe Thornton, Duncan Keith, Alexander McGillney will go in as players. On the women's side, Jennifer Botterill will go in, Brianna Decker as well. Congratulations to them. In the builders category, Jack Parker, Danielle Sauvageau, they will go in. Look, I'm not going to take a single thing away from any of these individuals, both men and women and builders. They deserve to have their spot in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Specifically, Alexander McGilley. He's been waiting a long time, right? And I'm not going to take anything away because these guys are elite. They're the cream of the crop. They're so good. But you know how I feel about Carey Price, and for the longest period of time, in my mind, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, which he was eligible to be put in this year. Some of you are saying, well, how is that possible? He hasn't retired. He hasn't played in what now? Almost 5 years. So he's eligible the same way that Shea Weber was eligible to be into the Hockey Hall of Fame and he got in. Am I disappointed that Carey didn't get in? Yes. Of course I am. In my mind, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is a generational talent in the blue paint. And I know some of you are going to say no, because some of you think you had to dominate for the longest periods of time, right? He was the poster of excellence, right? I know some of you don't know because you don't follow Canadiens like I do. And if you do follow Canadiens, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Carey Price was on some of the most mediocre hockey teams, and he kept them relevant. He has won every single trophy that you could think of winning. He's got Olympic gold. He's got Calder Trophy, World Juniors. I mean, he's been to the All-Star game a whole bunch of times. He did go to Stanley Cup Finals. I know he doesn't have a Stanley Cup ring, but that's not needed anymore to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, because there's two other goalies that are in there who, by the way, also deserve to be there. I'm not taking anything away from them. Roberto Luongo, Henrik Lundqvist. Generational talents, by the way. And Carey Price is one of them. Some people don't give him the praise that he deserves, right? Before Connor Hellebuck, who was the most recent winner of the Hart Vezina Trophy, who was the last goalie to do it? Exactly. Carey Price. He is to me, he will get in. Don't get it twisted. He's going to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. But I just felt like he was a first ballot Hall of Famer because of how dominant he was on some of the biggest stages in the world, including that Stanley Cup run. I know Leafs Nation remembers, but let me refresh the memory of others. The Montreal Canadiens were down 3-1 to the Maple Leafs that first round. Now, if it wasn't for Galchenyuk turning over the puck, maybe things go the other way. But Carey Price was the backbone of the Montreal Canadiens for the longest period of time. And yes, injuries unfortunately caught up to him. I'll try not to say anything mean about Chris Kreider. But again, generational talent, we can agree to disagree. If you do disagree, you're just wrong. That's fine as well. You're allowed to be wrong. Some people they like to see how the other side lives, you know? They just want to be wrong just to see what it's like on that side. I prefer to be right. And Carey Price, to me, should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. But again, I'm not taking anything away from any of these guys who got there. Don't ask me who doesn't get in out of those guys, because they all deserve to be there. And I'm not on the committee who gets to choose players who go in. I did have a chance, though, to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. I haven't been there in, 15 years? It was nice. It was nice. It's hard being a goalie. They have this thing where you can basically take shots, right? It's one of those interactive things. It's on X if you follow me, right? At FuzzyChris91. I tried to stop the puck. I got better as it went on, but it was not very good. I think those shots were a little bit too hard. But anyways, don't ask me who to not pick, who to replace from the class that was selected. They all deserve to be there. They would have gotten in anyways. I understand Carey Price will get in as well at some point. It sucks that he didn't. Okay? So congratulations to those. Congratulations as well, Jonathan Toews. Remember him? Yes, Jonathan Toews has signed a 1-year, $2 million contract with the Winnipeg Jets. So he's going home. It's $2 million base. He can make up to an extra $5 million in bonuses. Some of you are looking here going, wow, Jonathan Toews can make up to $7 million next year. That's too much. You're like, hold on a minute. There are a lot of contracts now for older players. Toews is 37, by the way. Jamie Benn's deal is structured the same way. There are incentives, right? If you get to these many games, and if we go this far, you get X amount of money. For him to hit every single objective, he would have to be healthy relatively most of the year, and the Winnipeg Jets have to win the Stanley Cup. Now, let me ask you, just Winnipeg fans, nobody else. If I told you that you could get a Stanley Cup next year, and all it's going to cost you $7 million for Jonathan Toews, I think most of you are going to take it, right? Now, how does this work, right? Some of you are like, how does this, the salary, how does the bonuses work? And it goes through the overage charge, which is then charged to the salary cap the previous year. So you have the overage charges. They got to pay for them at some point, right? Now, salary cap continues to go up. This isn't a problem. If you win the Stanley Cup, the money after that, you figure it out. Win and then deal with the rest. But I don't want to hear anybody complaining about, oh, he could make $7 million. You're right. He could. If he is that big of a factor for his team to win the Stanley Cup, I mean, I'll take it. I will. You should too. So congratulations, Jonathan Toews. He hasn't played in 2 years. So I don't know what we're going to get out of him. I don't know if he knows what he's going to get out of him. Winnipeg is hoping he could be a kind of like a third line center, maybe get bumped up to the second line if that's where they need him. But look, congratulations to him. He deserves it. A couple of trades. This happened a little bit earlier. Trevor Zegras has moved to Philadelphia in an underwhelming return. He gets reunited with Jamie Drysdale. We finally could put an end to the is Trevor Zegras getting traded to Montreal with his good friend Cole Caulfield. That is not happening. Zegras is probably a winger at this point. His career has not gone the way a lot of people thought it would. So he's getting a new start with a up-and-coming Philadelphia Flyers team. He's going to have a chance to play there. Good news, though, he doesn't have to be coached by John Tortorella, so that's a win for him. So we'll see what we get out of him there from a fantasy perspective. I don't know yet. My mind is almost in off-season mode, so I'll deal with him when I start looking at numbers for fantasy drafts. Evander Kane as well. He is on his way to Vancouver. He's in the final year of his 4-year deal. There's no secret here that Edmonton's got to clear some money out. Victor Arvidsson's probably heading out the door as well. They need to find a boatload of money, Edmonton, so they can give McDavid is due to be re-signed. Now, a lot of people are not really worried in his end-of-the-year presser. He was very non-committal. Non-committed? Non-committal? I don't know which word it is. But he was not very assertive in saying, yes, I'll be back. Do I believe there is a scenario where Connor McDavid does not re-sign in Edmonton? Yes. He wants to win. I think that is clear. Now, the good news, Edmonton, is he is as close to winning as you can be without winning, right? Because the Edmonton Oilers have gone to the finals now twice. No other team has done that, barring the actual Stanley Cup champions. If he wants to go to Florida, because I hear that there is no state tax there, everybody goes there just for that. Sure, why not? Maybe he signs there and takes peanuts on the dollar. I don't think he will do that. A couple of days as well, his wife Lauren, I believe, business now in Edmonton. This is a blank check for McDavid, by the way. We take the pen, right? We take the pen, we give it to him. We say, here, Connor, write a number down, and, that's what we'll go with. And then they sign it. Now, how much can he get? I don't know. Probably, I would comfortably pay him $16 million over 8 years. I don't think that's an overpay for him. The problem is how much money do you want to spend on one player? And what does that leave for the rest? So maybe he can make 16. Maybe he takes only 14, right? That's still a discount. And then it leaves some money so that Edmonton could go out and bolster their blue line, right? I think he wants to see what the Edmonton Oilers are going to look like. There is no rush in signing him, right? Because it'll get done. The only thing that happens is the more you wait, let's say Edmonton gets off to the start, it's not great, and then he says, maybe I do want to test the market. Then you're in trouble, because then it's not a question of money, because everybody's going to give him the maximum of money that you can get. Teams will clear out cap space for him. You know what I mean? Then it's just, where does he want to go? Where does he feel like he can win? Today, I believe he will re-sign in Edmonton. Because I cannot envision a scenario where they do not. This is probably the year where they are going to bolster that team as much as they can. Anything they got to do to make Connor happy, they'll do it. if you need more defensemen to be better, like if they got to find a way to get Darnell Nurse out of town, like they'll do it. Whatever it's got to be. You got to find a way to make Connor happy and keep this team competitive. Because he's been in the league now, 10 years? Doesn't have the greatest trophy in the world yet. So we'll see how that goes. Also, as well in the trade news, J.J. Peterka is leaving Buffalo. Congratulations to him. Kesselring and Doan from Utah are going the other way. The Buffalo Sabres continue to be the farm system of every other NHL team. Because there's so much elite talent that leaves that team, goes elsewhere and wins Stanley Cup. And meanwhile, the Sabres haven't made the playoffs in 14 years? I don't know. A long time. Peterka's a young kid. What is he, like 23-ish? It's never a good idea to trade a 23-year-old. Who's still growing into it. And you saw that coming. To me, there must have been something else that we don't know that the team didn't like. Right? And the team held a press conference after about acquiring Kesselring and Doan. Didn't even thank Peterka for his time. It's one of those media things that you can just send out and thank the player for his time and wish him all the best and wherever he's going. Didn't happen. So I don't know if maybe Peterka and the team just didn't mesh. Would shock me. But the Buffalo Sabres are chalked, man. This team is just miserable. And they are, they go out. Listen, nothing wrong with Kesselring. He's a right-handed shot defenseman, which GMs love. They have orgasms to players like this, right? Right-handed shot, right side defenseman. They will kill body for players like that, right? And then you get Doan as well. Like Doan can be a good player, right? He's probably a middle six type guy, but this deal's going to come down to how good is I was going to say Shane Doan, Josh Doan. How good is he? If he's good and he can contribute and he's like a 60 plus point player, then it doesn't hurt as much. But the Buffalo Sabres gave up the best player in this deal today. So when you do that, you're asking the guys that you brought in to be really good. Kesselring's a big body. He's going to go well with the other big bodies that are there. Owen Powers, Rasmus Dahlin, right? Like the blue line is fine. Now there's all this talk about, how else that blue line is going to look. And whether Bowen Byram's going to stick around, that's a whole other fiasco, right? But I just don't, what do we do with the Buffalo Sabres? Do we even do anything with them? I would relegate them, probably. But that's because they're a terrible team and their city is also terrible. But, again, I'm not here to, we're not going down that can of worms again, all right? I'm just saying. We're not doing that because we could be here forever. So we'll see how that goes. Utah now adds another young player. They're top six, real good. This is what you want teams to be doing, right? Ryan Smith took over this team, and he is committed and dedicated to spending money and making this team good. The Mammoth are going to be good sooner rather than later. They had a foundation coming over from Arizona. But now they're in a willingness to go out, spend money, make trades. They're probably going to bring somebody in, another player. They have the money to do it. They will spend. They will be competitive. This is what you want to see. You want to see teams spend. You want to see them be competitive. Good for them. Also, we're going to wrap this up here on the notes. The NHL Draft happened. I didn't watch the first round because I had other plans. And I don't feel like I missed anything because that was long and excruciating from what I heard on X. Listen, the owners wanted to decentralize it. We've done it. It was a massive failure. Let's go back to just all meeting in Vegas once a year. And it's always the same talk about, we're trying to cut travel and we're trying to cut costs. And maybe it's not always about cost to billionaires. I don't know, man. Maybe get everybody there. Easier to make trades. You can speculate about two GMs talking. Like, are they talking about trades? Or are they just like, hey, man, I bought my second, summer house in Boca Raton. That's what I wanted to see. You can still make it quicker. Like, you don't have to bring the whole farm up when you announce a pick, Like, you got the whole staff up there, you got special assistants, and then you got your, your celebrity or your surprise guest to announce the pick, and then you got like this 14-year-old kid or 12-year-old kid, and you're like, how are you, like, are you on the payroll? Like, how did you get on stage? Like, you don't need that many guys. Send one guy up, make your pick. That's it. Get up on stage, thank your fans, congratulate the Stanley Cup winner, say where they're watching, where the watch party is, make your pick, sit down. Keep it going. Move. Again, I watched a little bit of the second round, which 2 to 4, because even that was getting long. Obviously, it moves quicker. But this was a massive L. I don't think we need to go back to it. Let's go back to all meeting in person and doing it. It just seems like it's a lot easier to get everybody in one room. I don't know. And you could host it in nice places. You could do it at the Sphere again in Las Vegas. Or I don't know. Do it in California. Do it in Florida. Do it in New York. I don't care where. Do it somewhere nice. But this decentralized, it didn't work. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's not Gary's fault. 26 owners voted that they wanted to decentralize it. Well, there you go. You got it. And it was miserable. So whatever GM or whatever team says, no, this was a good experience, I liked it, don't trust them with anything. Don't give them your car keys. Don't give them the codes to the safe or the Wi-Fi. Don't trust them. That was a terrible experience. All right. Absolutely terrible. Those are the notes. We got through most of it. On next, let's cook here. So good news here. We're going to talk about this for a little bit, but we don't have to talk about it as long because the NHL and the NHLPA have a CBA agreement. It was announced. If you're looking for specific details, Gary didn't give us that because it's not rectified just yet, and Gary hates us. But we did get some leaks. So we're going to take a look at that. It's a 4-year extension beginning next year. So from 2026 to 2030, it just means we don't have to talk about the CBA. We don't have to worry about lockouts. We don't have to talk about escrow and all those things that I know none of us want to ever worry about. And listen, with Gary's track record of having 3 lockouts, this is a win, the fact that he's not here. I'm sorry, that we don't have to go through a lockout with him. I wish he wasn't here. But let's take a look at some of what we may or may not know. So this is the speculation. We'll go through it together. And it still has to be ratified, stuff like that. Things can probably change here. 1, the NHL is considering an 84-game schedule. Off to a bad start. We don't need more Anaheim, San Jose in mid-January games. I know this will never happen, okay? I understand this because the NHL is a business. Hockey-related revenue is important. There's more way to sell things to everybody, okay? I get this. The NHL needs less games, less than 82. 70 would probably be a good number, right? But we're not going to do that. I understand that. 84 games. They're apparently going to cut some of the preseason games. Montreal Canadiens are playing, I think, 6 preseason games coming up. Like, that's way too many. Why are there so many preseason games? Why? Like, have 3 at best. Split squads. I'm a big fan of split squads. Do that. Doesn't matter. Also, stop charging fans full price for those tickets. All right? Anyways, 84-game schedule. Apparently, listen, if they're going to do it, let them do it. You know what I mean? Contracts will be limited to 6 years for free agents and 7 for players that re-sign with their team. So currently it's 7 years, 8 years if you re-sign with your team. I was a little bit surprised to see that players would agree to do this. I think the reason it doesn't matter as much to players. So yes, you want the long-term security. There are some players who want it, right? Like some teams will give it to them, like Trent Frederick, who apparently needs an 8-year deal. Why? I don't know. Nothing against the player. I just don't know why we're signing bottom 6 guys to 8-year deals. Anyways, I don't think this hurts as much because of how much the salary cap is going to go up. If you expect it to continue, like it's not going to exponentially grow like 30% again in 4 years. It may taper off at some point. But if the expectation that the cap is going to go up, maybe we don't see as many elite players bank on signing these long-term deals, right? Because a lot of people are going to look at the deals that are going to be signed coming up on July 1st and be like, oh my God, why are we paying this guy $7 million? Well, 7 is the new 5, right? And 5 is the new 3. You know what I mean? There's inflation. It's changed. The contracts that you sign today are not going to be worth the same that they are in, 6, 7 years. I think we may see more players take the route that we've seen Austin Matthews take, which is a shorter deal. So you can cash in twice. You can go out, get paid, right? It's about keeping a percentage of the cap, right? You want to grow with the percentage. That's what you're looking for. So at first I did scratch my head. I was like, why would players want to take a year away of certainty for them? Maybe that makes it easier for everybody to get paid. Guys can go out. Also, maybe there's more player movement. I don't know if the league wants that, but anyways, I guess it's not that big of a problem if the players are okay with it. Maybe this hurts like I said, the guys who are looking for that financial security. They may be, third, fourth line guys in and out of the lineup. They can get, longer term deals. But maybe this helps push players to say, hey, I'll sign a 3-year deal for like $15 million and then, cash in next time again if I play well. Deferred salary is no longer allowed in contracts. Who is it? Was it Frank Vetrano who had some deferred money? John Tavares signed as well. Took a friendly team discount. He's got $2 million that is deferred. So, I understand what the league's trying to do. They're trying to not move to what Shohei Ohtani did with the Dodgers, which is just basically defer most of the salary, because when you defer it, it doesn't count against the salary cap, right? So we don't want to find any way to help Vegas and Tampa Bay, and I'll throw the Panthers in there because apparently everybody thinks they're doing it as well, to circumvent the cap even more than they have to, especially in states where there are no state tax, right? Which is still hot here, but no deferred salary allowed. I don't think it's a big problem here. Signing rights to draft picks are uniform across league. What does this mean? So it means that the signing rights now, regardless of what league you play in, are now 4 years, if I understood correctly. So you have 4 years once you draft that player to sign him, or you have his signing rights for 4 years. I don't think this was true. I think it was less. I think it was 2 if you played college. That's my thinking. I may be wrong, but you have 4 years. It's good for teams because it allows them, if players want to go back to school, work on their crafts. A lot of players sometimes need seasoning. You don't have to necessarily sign them to an entry-level contract. They can play a 3rd year college hockey if that's what they want to do. Keeps players in the system, right? Allows you to own players, doesn't burn a contract that you sign to them. So I don't think this was a hard one for them to negotiate. Full-time emergency backup goalies within the organization. So I'm guessing they will sign. I'm guessing there will be a goalie. Each team will have an emergency backup. I'm guessing it's a guy who travels with the team. Maybe. That's my interpretation of this, right? That's my interpretation. That there'll be a guy there that is an emergency backup, so we don't have to get the Zamboni driver on the ice anymore. You know what I mean? It's a shame that those stories will end, but it's probably for the best, right? It's probably for the best. I think we could be okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. Teams cannot mandate dress codes when arriving or departing games. I know. We're not going to be able to see every player wear a suit and tie. We're going to see a little bit of flamboyancy. Now, I know some of the purists are going to go, you show up in a suit and tie to work. It looks classy and stuff like that. And guess what? We're in 2025, so things change. The league's younger. Kids want to express themselves. Let them wear the sneakers, man. I don't care how you dress to the rink. I care how you play when you get there. Especially when leaving. You got to wear a suit when you leave. You're all sweaty and stuff. I know you took a shower, but still. Leave in your with your jogging pants on if you want. I don't care. Little bit of freedom for the players here. I am very excited about that. Last but not least, here on this list, playoff game rosters must be cap compliant. There you go. There's probably some rules around LTIR. I don't understand them yet. What I do understand from this is that your roster on the ice, even in the playoffs, must be cap compliant. So I'm guessing they'll be able to have as many players as they want on their roster after the Stanley Cup. Like it's not going to matter, right? You won't have to be like under the salary cap as of like 5 p.m., right? But whatever you put on the ice has to be cap compliant. And I'm okay with that. For the this isn't going to affect it. This is just going to remove one excuse for everybody who's claiming all these teams circumvent the Stanley Cup, circumvent the salary cap to win the Stanley Cup. But that is what they've proposed. This is what the new CBA outline will look at. I'm sure we'll get more details once Gary tells us and actually cares about telling the rest of us what we want to hear. That day is not today. A couple of other things here that I think are noteworthy of that have come out afterwards from this list. Frank Saravalli has said that neck guards will be mandatory for all new players entering 2026-27. So the same way they did with the visor, right? If you wear a visor in junior hockey anyways, college hockey, you play with a full cage. So those players already play with visors in junior. When you come to the NHL, there's no reason for you to take it off. Continue to wear it. They'll grandfather this in as well. Neck guards, I believe, are worn in the CHL. I don't know what it's like in Europe. I believe it is well in college hockey, but I'm not sure. But I do know that CHL players wear neck guards, so they'll have to wear them. I don't know how they'll come through it. It's player safety. I don't think it's going to bother a ton of players. If you already play with it, it's an extra layer of protection. You don't want to skate slicing somebody's neck. I'm sure at one point they'll have the long Kevlar as well to protect your wrists and everything. If you leave it up to players to decide, they won't do it. So we got to encourage them. We got to make them do it. So that apparently is coming. Also, training camps will be shortened from 21 to 13 days. Okay, 18 for rookies with 1 day off during the week. Shortening training camp, I think, is fine. Players show up to camp in shape already, right? Which, by the way, they will also have no longer the testing. Teams will not be allowed to do like that rigorous test. You see them riding the bike, right? The oxygen test, what is it? The VO2 test, the grueling bike. I don't think they'll do that. They can't do it at the beginning of training camp during the regular season. They're no longer mandate. I don't know how they're going to test for players like their VO2 max and how in shape they are. I'm sure they'll find other ways to do it. But shortening of the training camp is good, right? Rookie camp as well. It doesn't have to be that long. Okay? Doesn't have to be that long. Guys show up in camp, see which guys can make the team. If you have a fairly certain assessment of what you're looking for or who you think is going to be on the team, you could work on some strategies. Most of the execution of learning game plans start early in the year, right? For new coaches, new systems, players getting all up to, caught up and everything. Not a problem with me having all these guys, with shorter, just meaningless hockey. Less training camp means there's less grueling on the body at the beginning, less preseason games, there's less chance to get hurt. You got to show up to camp, though, ready to go. You know what I mean? Maybe players will have off, unofficial skates or stuff, rent an ice. I'm sure Lane Hudson's on an ice rink somewhere today because you can't get him off the ice. But that is for the NHL and the NHL CBA breakdown. Good for them. So let's move to the most important part here. Because I know you guys know, because I know. Listen, I was sitting at the dealership because I had to go and get my alignment fixed. I had to do my service. So I was sitting there, and it was already cooking. And then it cooked. And we got Noah Dobson in town. So Emil Heineman and Montreal's 16th and 17th pick in the draft that just passed for Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson signed an 8-year, $9.5 million deal as part of the trade. And listen, this was breaking news to a lot of people, right? And everybody's, Noah Dobson's on the, he's on the board. He's all this. There were rumblings about Noah Dobson around the trade deadline, right? and maybe the Islanders were looking to move him. If you're new here, or maybe you forgot because it's been exactly pretty much 4 months, but episode 82 of Slapshot Podcast, we broke down what a trade would look like for the Montreal Canadiens to go out and get Noah Dobson. I literally broke it down. And in that episode, I gave up way more than what Montreal gave up today. Okay? I mean, we had Patrick Laine in there. We had a first-round pick. We had Logan Mailloux in there. Like, we were doing everything. And we were trying to figure out the cap and how we're going to make this all work. And then, boom, good things come to those who wait. Emil Heineman, a young player, man, he's moved around a couple of times here. He was part of the Sam Reinhart trade. Sam Bennett trade. And then he was part of the Tyler Foley trade. Now he's part of the Noah Dobson trade. So he's moving around, but listen, good kid. He was really good on that fourth line before he got hit by a car in Utah. I think the Islanders are going to benefit from him. Obviously, the 2 picks here are important. Yes, they went out. They drafted Schaefer. I don't know the 2 names of the 2 players that they picked. They had 3 picks in the first round. The Islanders are clearly retooling and restocking their picks now with Matthew Darche at the helm of that team. So Noah Dobson coming into Montreal. Listen, I was a fan of it around the trade deadline when we did that episode. I'm an even bigger fan of it now because you didn't really give up any major assets to get him, right? I was telling a lot of people, and I know a lot of people told me this as well, they didn't think Montreal was going to make back-to-back first-round picks. We thought maybe one. The need is still to find a second-line centerman, right? But everybody needs a second-line centerman. Those players are extremely hard to find, okay? They still need it. Montreal still needs somebody in down the middle if it's not Kirby Dach. There's still a lot of rumblings about other things that can happen. But Montreal goes out and they get a right-shot defenseman. And again, we know how important that is and how much teams love it. The 9.5 also doesn't bother me. We knew that Dobson was going to be due some money. Okay. We knew that. And now 9.5 is like 7.5 for him. Right. And he didn't give up. Here's the thing. You didn't give up any assets. Montreal has had a ton of picks. Okay. So now you have leverage. You move these picks to now acquire players who can play now. The picks that you make, will they be ready when you inevitably start to contend every year for a Stanley Cup? Probably not. Probably not. Your system is good. It is stocked. You don't have to keep stocking for it. Now you got to start moving some of the chips that you've acquired. And a lot of these chips were just, listen, the first round pick that was there, I believe that was that part of the Sean Monahan deal? I don't think it was. I think it was part of the Tyler Toffoli deal. I think that was it. But a lot of teams will pay you to take a player and say, hey, we need this. Here's a pick. And then you leverage those picks into other picks or into Noah Dobson at some point. That's what happened here. Now, the Montreal Canadiens have 3 puck-moving defensemen. Right? Lane Hudson can move the puck. Noah Dobson can. I'm going to throw Mike Matheson in there. I know there's a lot of chatter about him, whether he's here or not. Mike Matheson is now the veteran on this team, by the way. Okay? He's 31. He's the oldest defenseman on the back end. I'm older than him. That is an exceptionally young group. So like I said back then, if you want to move Matheson, fine. But then you have no veteran presence on the blue line. And I don't know many teams that win without a veteran presence, unfortunately, on the back end. You need some veterans to show the others how it's done, right? Now, Dobson's coming off a down year. It happens, right? The Islanders, as a team, were just not good. This is a player who put up 60 points. This is a player who's played for Team Canada. This is a player who could shoot the puck. He could block. He could play a ton of minutes. You can get him to do a lot of things. By adding a player of this caliber, you hope that everybody else sits in a chair that is for them, right? You can have Matheson and Dobson go out there and play a ton of minutes, right? Or you could, like, I don't know if you want to pair Dobson with Hudson right off the rip. But there are, like, there are so many different ways that you can build your back end. We're not even going to talk about David Reinbacher or Logan Mailloux because those are players that are still, to me, they're not regulars yet. And Reinbacher at some point will become one. But we're talking about guys like Jaden Struble. We're talking about guys like Arbor Xhekaj. We're talking about guys like Alexander Carrier. Carrier is a good defenseman. He's a top 4 defenseman who may end up playing third line pairing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if you look at the Florida Panthers D core that finished, I don't think they had a true quote unquote third pairing. You could run all 6 defensemen out there all the time and not have to worry about it. And that is important. Montreal was not very good defensively once upon a time. And they weren't necessarily great last year either. So now you bring in more players, more seasoning. Like, Dobson's 26, man. Like, he's, you know what like, that's, to me, that was the winner. Some people are like, oh, the Montreal Canadiens, because they didn't pick, they weren't winners of the first round. What do you mean? Nobody drafted a Noah Dobson in the first round. So that's a win. That's how I see it. You went out and you got a ready NHL player. He's not growing anymore. He's ready and he's in his prime. And you benefited from getting him for 8 years now, which we know at one point will only be 7. So there's lots of things to like here. Where will he play? Where will Dobson take? I don't know. Even if he's on the second power play unit, doesn't matter. Does this hurt Mike Matheson's fantasy value? Probably. I would draft him. But maybe Mike Matheson doesn't have to go out there and play 23, 24 minutes a night. Maybe you shelter him. Maybe you keep him around the 20 minutes. Maybe you play him with a guy like Carrier. Settle things down for him a little bit. There are different ways that you can go here now that you have Noah Dobson in your lineup. And listen, injuries are going to happen, man. Injuries are going to happen. So the guys that are down right now in the AHL, like, they may get a crack. Like, if I'm Jaden Struble and I'm Arbor Xhekaj, like, obviously bringing in another defenseman doesn't make me happy. Because David Savard retired, and you're like, okay, well, there's a spot now in the lineup. Maybe I can take it. And now you bring in a defenseman who's not going to be out of the lineup. Right? To me, this was also, it was weird that the Islanders were willing to do this as well. I feel like this is what they did with Devin Taves when they shipped him over to Colorado. And he is very good. He gets overshadowed because he plays with Cale Makar, but that is an elite pairing. He plays elite minutes. He wins at the Four Nations, and he plays a role in it. So I don't know why the Islanders decided to make him available. They said we couldn't agree on a contract. He apparently was looking for 10 plus. They settled at 9.5 somewhere. So there was a want for Dobson as well to come to Montreal, which, may I remind you, we do pay income tax, by the way, a lot of it. So the narrative of the income tax thing, again, players will go and play in places they want. But this is the big part. Now we're getting to a part with the Montreal Canadiens where players want to be here. You can attract outside talent, and you can get them to buy into reasonable numbers. Noah Dobson's now the highest paid player on the roster outside of Carey Price, who will be on LTIR, assuming his contract doesn't get moved. Right? That's a lot, right? I get it. Other guys have to make a little bit of sacrifices. But you still got elite talent to say, hey, I want to be here. I want to be part of what's going on here. And that there was a time where that didn't happen. A lot of people were talking about before John Tavares signed. Do you think it's an option for Montreal? And listen, maybe. Like, John took a 4-year, $4-point-some-odd million deal. Very team friendly, by the way, but he wanted to be in Toronto. That's his home. He's made his bag, by the way. He's made over $100 million in his career. I think he's at 111. Somewhere there. Like, he's got paid. You know what I mean? And maybe he would have come to Montreal now. But remember when he signed his deal the first time? I remember when he was leaving Long Island, he didn't even give the Montreal Canadiens the time of day. He didn't meet with them. He didn't want to. He was like, I'm not signing here. And why would you? The Montreal Canadiens at that point were not very good. I don't blame him. I remember, though, John. I remember. But I don't blame you completely. Because you want to go somewhere where you can win. Some players are going to chase money. Some players are going to chase winning. Sometimes you can get a little bit of both at the same time, right? Dobson can get paid, and he can go and chase now for the next few years. Hopefully the Montreal Canadiens are, contenders for the Stanley Cup coming up here. I think they're still about a year out. I don't think it's next year where it starts to take off. I think it's the year after. I do. I think once the new CBA kicks in, now we're rolling. To me, that's the window. I think next year, if you could be a playoff team, get there, maybe you win a round, you build more experience, you have a good year, fine. Now we're in it. And then after that, you're like, hey, let's start being a team that finishes at the top of the division and makes deep Stanley Cup playoff runs. Whether you win or not, I'd like them to win. But whether you win or not is neither here nor there. The most important thing is that they compete. When you get that window, you have to take it. Which is why I'm guessing, guys, maybe Brad Marchand, we don't know where he's going to go. Maybe he decides he wants to stay in Florida, chase another one. He's only got 2 Stanley Cups. I know that's still a lot. I know, like I'm saying it, but he had to wait a significant period of time before he could get a second one. So maybe players towards the end of their careers at some point are like, hey, man, I want to win. And this window is here, and I can do that. Players want to win. I agree players should get paid. Go out. If you want to chase your bag, chase your bag. Go to a new team and say, hey, man, let's build a winning culture here. Let's start from somewhere. Like the San Jose Sharks or even the Chicago Blackhawks. Maybe they get guys say, hey, man, we're not there yet, but when we are, though, you know what I mean? It'll be time. But this is a fantastic deal. I am a wizard. I'm not. Kent Hughes, though, is a wizard. Kent Goat Hughes, in my mind. What? To go out and do it, it was between apparently Montreal and Columbus. Columbus taking a second L to the Montreal Canadiens. But yeah, no. Extremely happy about this. I am extremely happy to see Noah Dobson in a Habs uniform. I'm excited about the season that is not happening just yet. But yeah, that is we are almost 50 minutes deep. Yeah, we're almost 50 minutes deep here. All right. So listen, I appreciate all of you for hanging out with me here, hanging out on the podcast. I'm going to do one more episode next week. We're going to look a little bit at what free agency, maybe some winners, losers. We'll play Puck Doku if we got time. And then after that, we're going to go on a summer hiatus until probably the beginning of September when the season starts to wrap up. We're going to talk a little bit more about, conferences, teams that could make a difference, winners, losers. We'll preview as well fantasy hockey because that'll be right around the corner. But we'll take a summer hiatus after next week. So if you want to find yourself back here again, make sure you go ahead to go to x.com/slapshot podcast. Follow the podcast. Hit the link tree. Follow the podcast wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, youtube.com/@slapshotpod. Hit the sub button, ring the bell, press a like, press a thumbs up wherever you watch it. It really helps push this out into the algorithm. I appreciate all of you for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see each other next week.